Hi, welcome. We'll be starting shortly. Hi, my name is Jamie Bilsbach, and I'm the Center Director for the Central Mountain Small Business Development Center. Thank you for joining us for Marketing for Holiday Sales during a socially distanced climate. The Central Mountain SBDC Center can be reached through centralsbdc.org, as well as all the social channels. Next slide, please, Leanne. We offer free confidential consulting, and we have 8 local consultants. And then we have access to our statewide consultants. And then we offer free or low-cost training, such as the one today, and also access to money through PPP and EIDL programs, the Energize Colorado Gap funding, the new state restaurant association grant funding, local county funding, and then all other lending sources. So we're here to help you for those different funding opportunities. Next slide. It is my great pleasure to introduce Leanne Presley. Leanne joins us with 25 plus years of marketing experience, and she has amazing expertise in social media marketing and also website sales, especially in the craft sector. And she's also an SBDC counselor, so we'll share that, her expertise in that area at the end of the session. Next slide. So please help me welcome Leanne. Welcome.
Hi, thanks, Jamie. I appreciate that introduction. As Jamie said, my name is Leanne Presley, and I always like to start my presentations by sharing a little bit more about myself. I like to know who's speaking. So I've got this slide up here for you. As Jamie said, I am an SBDC consultant, and I've been working with the Central region here since December of 2019. I also currently own a marketing agency called Stitchcraft Marketing, and we specialize in the craft industry, specifically with fiber and fabric companies. And then even more specifically, we have a niche within the niche of social media marketing. And I currently live in Salida, which, if some of you don't know, is a little small mountain town in south central Colorado. So today we are going to talk about marketing for socially distanced holiday shopping. And I'm going to give you kind of 5 different areas to think about, and we'll unpack each one of them in order. And my goal and my hope is that you will glean some new ideas for your retail or even your restaurant business that will help you just bump yourself up even just a little bit. As we all know, we're in some challenging times right now, and the pandemic has made it more difficult to do business as usual. So again, hopefully you'll get a couple of ideas here to help bolster your business. So to start with, like I said, we're going to talk about 5 different areas. I'm calling them different trends for the holiday season. And at the top of the list, of course, is e-commerce. E-commerce has grown exponentially, especially since COVID hit. And I would say even kind of what I'm seeing is the peak since May. So we're going to dig a lot deeper into e-commerce. We're also going to talk a little bit about unpredictability and how you can manage some of the unknowns as you navigate your business. The other trend I'm seeing for this season is a longer holiday season, with a lot more shoppers starting earlier to avoid some of the crowds. Next, we're going to talk about smaller budgets. Of course, with a lot of the economic disruptions due to COVID, we are seeing a strain on paychecks and more unemployment and so on. So, what I've already started to see is some consumers trying to do more with less. So I'm going to give you some tips on dealing with consumers who have a budget mindset. And then, of course, we can't have a discussion about holiday shopping in the middle of a pandemic without talking about safety. So we'll touch a little bit on some of those in today's presentation. All right, so the first one is e-commerce. And for 2020, like I mentioned earlier, we've seen a huge shift to e-commerce. It's been the fastest rate of growth ever. By May, it was up by 70% year over year and had reached $82.5 billion in US sales. We know for a fact that more consumers are using e-commerce for the very first time ever for products that would normally be going into a store to shop for. And of course, you know, based on this shift, what we're telling all of our clients is that you really need to be well prepared to drive, we're estimating, over 50% of your holiday traffic through an e-commerce site. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So how do you get started? If some of you are listening and you're like, oh gosh, I don't even know where to start. Let's go through some of the more common platforms that we work with when we are sharing this with our clients. The first one is Shopify. That's probably the most popular as an e-commerce plugin, followed by Etsy. Etsy is, for those of you that don't know, is going to be a third-party platform for makers. And let me back up just a second. So Shopify is going to be a third party, but a third-party app or program, but it will plug into any sort of it'll be like your website. It'll plug into an existing design. It integrates fully with your website. It is essentially your website, versus Etsy, where it is a whole separate website and you create a shopping presence on Etsy. We also work with Facebook Shops a lot, which is integrations that make it easy to get your products online, super usable, friendly interface, and so on. And then a couple of other options here. We use BigCommerce a lot. We use Squarespace and WooCommerce. Those are probably the three most common e-commerce apps. And those typically will be an add-on to integrate with an existing website design. So let's say you already have a website, you maybe designed it in WordPress or so on. These apps would be ones that you would kind of put in on the back end to make your website e-commerce compatible. And then I will just remind you that you will get a download of the presentation, and all of these will be clickable links for you to take your time later on to go through each of them and explore some of those options, see which one fits for your business. I also want to direct you to 2 other on-demand workshops that I recently did with Jamie for the SBDC. You can access those with a direct, it's like a direct on-demand link. I put the email in here. It's info@centralsbdc.org. Just shoot us a quick email if those are something you're interested in, and Jamie will get you set up with how to access those videos. They're both about an hour long, and both of them are designed to kind of walk you through hand-holding every single step of the way. So if you're interested in getting started with e-commerce with either one of those, I'd highly recommend that you take a look at one of those replay on-demand links that Jamie's put together. All right, I want to do a really quick poll. Jamie, if you wouldn't mind helping me here. How would you feel about your website readiness this holiday season? We've got a couple of options. I love to hear people have checked and double checked and they're super ready. Maybe you might feel like you really still need to think about it. It's on your to-do list and you haven't gotten to it. Or you're in the camp of it's definitely not ready. Or the website, your website, you're wondering, oh my gosh, I don't have one. So if you want to take a minute to check one of those, then we'll close up polling, and that will help me with my next little part here. Thanks, Jamie. All right. So what I'm seeing is we've got responses across the board, and that's totally normal. A few people that are ready, a few people that don't have a website. So like I said, hopefully some of the information I'll present to you will put you into a firm category. Hopefully the first one, which is that you're going to be ready and you're double checked and bring on the sales, right? Okay, the first thing is going to be, are you mobile friendly? So We know that slow mobile sites limit your business. And, of course, we know that the majority of shoppers these days are utilizing their phones. I mean, this is a computer in your pocket at all times. So you need to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. And there's a couple of different tools that we recommend for you to check that out. The first one is a speed test provided by Google. Again, quick link here. This will show you how fast your site is. We know that fast sites load in under 1 second. An average site is about 1 to 2.5 seconds. And you're considered a slow site if it's anything over 2.5 seconds. We also recommend that you take a look at your content and prioritize what's called above the fold images. So when you land on a website, what you can see on the screen immediately in front of you is called above the fold, right? So you want to make sure that anything that's super critical to your business and your brand is above the fold. You can also utilize something called lazy loading, which will load images below the fold on demand, so that typically a website is waiting for everything to load, even images above and below the fold. And you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, whereas lazy loading will prioritize the top versus the bottom. A lot of people just overlook compressing images also. That's a great way to take a look at how to increase your speed times. I don't want you to sacrifice high resolution or terrible photographs for size. Make sure that they're large enough that people can actually see what you're selling. Don't make them so small. You don't want to sacrifice load time for people not being able to see what it is you're trying to sell. All right, some other ideas here to improve your website. This is the time to either take a look at it yourself, or a lot of our clients, we encourage to hire someone else or utilize someone else that has never seen the website and have them walk through like a consumer user experience. So a couple things to keep in mind here. Easy navigation. Can visitors find your best-selling products with just a few clicks? Have your little test person test how many clicks does it take to get from the home page to a specific product. Are your drop-down menus easy to use? One of the things I see that's kind of a pet peeve of mine is these drop-down menus. They're like a flyout, and when you try to mouse over the flyout, the whole choice flies away, it disappears. So test that for your website. And if you're having a problem for people to target the exact navigation, then think about restructuring that to a different type of navigation. Search. If you don't have search, put that on your website. There's a lot of third-party apps you can integrate, but most days, any website design program is going to have search functionality integrated. Are your search results relevant to the query that the person is using? Do you have search suggestions enabled? And have you tested your search box? I think a lot of clients throw up the search box and then they go on their way. And when we come along and do audits, we type in, typical keywords, and then we're like, well, I typed in, something really common and it didn't return a result. Oh, I had no idea. Well, that's because they never tested it. So go ahead and plug in a couple of different search keywords for your product or your brand and see if they actually come up. Just remember, if people are not getting the search results that they're looking for, you are not going to get a second chance. People are going to go right back to Google and look for something different, or they're going to go to your competitors. So, search is super important to get right. Your checkout process should be quick and easy. Again, we don't want to see a whole lot of steps. We want to make sure that there is what's called a seamless checkout experience. We recommend that you just have one checkout page and not multiple steps with multiple pages to get to the final product where you click buy. Also make sure that you've got several easy payment options for your customers. Next, you can improve your website with abandoned cart notifications. We know that there's a lot of reasons why somebody might leave your website with a full shopping cart. So an abandoned cart notification is going to send them what's called a push notification to remind them that they've left things in their products. And I'm sure if you've shopped from some of the bigger retailers, then you're already familiar with this. We see that abandoned cart notifications have between double and sometimes triple the click-through rate of targeted email. All right, third-party integrations. This is something like, for example, Google AdWords or Google Maps integrations. I would say make sure they're all up to date. Do an update if you haven't in a long time, and make sure that they're loading fully, and also make sure that they're really important, because if they're not absolutely necessary, I'd say Google AdWords is a good example of that. You might want to remove them or put them on pause so that your page does load a lot faster. The About Us page. This, I will admit, is one of my kryptonite marketing tools. I really hate it when I go and see somebody's About Us page that is lacking all the different components that I think are important. And those would be, for example, one of the things that's most commonly overlooked, you'd be shocked to learn, is the name of the person that owns the business. So make sure your first name, your last name, and a photograph of yourself and or your staff is on your About Us page. And then I always love to see a little bit of story. We're in the era of storytelling, marketing, and if you miss that opportunity to tell people why you started your business, what inspired you to create these products, then you're missing that opportunity to really connect and engage with your customers. So utilize that About Us page. And then lastly, I mentioned accessibility. This has really been in the news a lot lately. And we need to keep in mind that some users are going to have access issues. They might have disabilities, impairments, or other impairments that do make it difficult for them to use your website. So at the very least, you can use, for example, alt tags to write in text that describes what your images are about. That's picked up by a screen reader for your visually impaired customers, for example. I wanted to give you this quick link. You can click over here and see a top 10 changes that you can make to your website to make it more accessible to a lot of different groups, because some people just don't even know where to go to test the accessibility of their site. All right. Next, I want to talk to you about click and collect, which you might also have heard referred to as like curbside shopping or curbside pickup. This is a major trend. Even before COVID, people were starting to try this, and we were seeing definite upticks in usage. For example, going back to even 2018, 81.4% of e-commerce shoppers worldwide reported ordering items online for in-store pickup, which was up nearly 30 percentage points from 2017. And of course, we know more consumers are drawn to the service because of convenience and because of speed. And roughly half of those respondents said they've used click and collect services to avoid the shipping fees. Because again, we are living in a shopping consumer world where certain big box retailers and online stores have taught us to come to expect free shipping. So people are, they're annoyed when they have to actually pay shipping, and they're using curbside pickup to avoid that. And then of course we know time savings. About 45% of respondents said that they were using the click and collect to save time because they didn't have to spend time shopping in the store. So this year alone with COVID, we've seen an increase of 195% of click and collect models. And I think we're going to just continue to see it gain traction as the pandemic continues, and maybe even beyond, because people are going to get so used to using it and realize how much they love it. So a couple things to keep in mind here. If you are going to consider something like this, make sure that you have the space. You're going to need to identify a room or a space in your business for the additional inventory, and you'll want to have designated space to process the orders and have a place for customers to come pick up the products. We've seen some of our clients use like adjustable wall dividers or buckets or baskets or different ways to sort some of those pickup orders. Also have a designated pickup space with some signage in your store. And of course, keep in mind that a lot of people who are doing click and collect don't want to come into your store. So please don't make them go to, the proverbial back of the milk aisle of the supermarket to do their pickups. Have something sort of closer to the front door so that they don't have to spend a lot of time in your business. The other thing I always recommend is, if you do have a little designated pickup area, maybe think about how you can have some upsell items, just like in your store where you'd have the register and you'd have some quick grab and go items. You can also do that with the click and collect area. And then staff training, make sure that your staff knows how the process works. Nothing's more frustrating than to go in and have the expectation that it's going to be smooth and seamless, and then your staff has no idea how it works or how to do it. And then explaining the process again to staff and to your customers, make sure that everybody knows how this works. I would include some lengthy details on your website about where they need to go, what they need to bring in terms of payment and so on. If they haven't paid online, how do they pay you in the store? How policies on how long you'll hold something, or how do they get in touch with you if there's a problem? Other things to keep in mind, don't forget about gift cards. Offering digital and physical options for gift cards is a great way to reach more shoppers who are looking for that one-size-fits-all gift. If you are offering shipping options for online orders, make sure that the list of your deadlines for each service like UPS or FedEx, etc., are clearly stated for the holiday delivery. Make sure that your shopping options are listed prominently on your website. Some might be, for example, that you've got in-store shopping by appointment, virtual shopping. I realize this says shipping options, but I really meant to say shopping options. So by virtual shopping, shopping online for curbside, if you have both in-store and home delivery, all of those things are important. And also, I guess for the shipping part of this, I'm sorry, this is sounding confusing, but for the shipping side, you do want to make sure that you are using keywords and listing those on your website, because, for example, people are starting to use terms like pick up near me. So if you had that in there on your website and people could pick up on those keywords, then I think you're going to pick up some customers that way for sure. Make sure that your store hours are also up to date on your site. If you've got extended hours, or maybe you're doing special shopping hours for the elderly population, for COVID, for example, make sure that those are clear through the holiday season so that people can shop without feeling like your store is overcrowded, for example. FAQs are great. It will save you a lot of time if you can put together, the top 10 questions people ask most common. We always recommend that you have shipping options, return policies, all the things that your customers ask you on a daily basis. Just throw those onto an FAQ page and include it on your website. And then finally, make sure that your local listings are matching what's on your website so that you avoid customer confusion. So for example, if you've updated your hours on your website, then you're going to want to double check your Google site, your Yelp site, some of those other third-party listings, and make sure that everything matches up. Also keep in mind that you can now specify things like local pickup on the Google local listing, and make sure that your shop comes up in a search. So for those of you that are thinking, I don't know what she's talking about, I did pull a little graphic example here for you so you can see. This is a local listing for Amika's Microbrew and More. You can see on the right-hand side. And I apologize that some of the text is a little bit small, but you can see that there is an opportunity for them to add in links, their phone number, specifically the hours. That's going to be really important for holiday shopping, where it's located, and so on. So that is what I'm referring to with your Google local listing, making sure that everything is consistent there. All right. The next thing is unpredictability. We, of course, know the pandemic has thrown one curveball after another. So you really need to be agile. You need to be prepared to pivot in order to meet customer demand. So I want to just walk you through a couple things here that we've been thinking about with our clients, such as supply chain issues that might impact inventory and so on. And I want you all to be prepared for some of the things that might just come out of left field. So of course, we recommend in order to really be prepared, you've got to plan whenever you can. We always recommend that you use a calendar, which will allow you to map out all of your marketing for the weeks and months ahead. And, of course, this allows you to distribute your work across your week. And I think as we get into the holidays, the stress starts to build and the bottleneck pressure builds. So having a plan ahead of time is going to help you. So let's chat really quickly about strategies you can do for that. So of course, I mentioned making a calendar. We always include during the holiday season a couple of key important dates. The first one is Black Friday, which is November 29th. Small Business Saturday, November 30th, and then Cyber Monday, December 2nd. And so once you've got these on your calendar and you've thought about some of the bigger dates and how you're going to design your promotions or sales or offerings or window decorations, whatever it is around these dates, then you can kind of fill in some of the smaller pieces. So we recommend that you also think about in your planning pre-scheduling social posts ahead of time. We utilize a couple of different tools for that. Some social media channels like Facebook, for example, have pre-scheduling already built into their backend that you can utilize. We use another third-party app called Hootsuite to schedule posts ahead of time. And again, this just helps you kind of plan out your messaging and your marketing. So you might be thinking in November, right now, you're going to be putting messaging out to your audience about preparing for the holidays and certain gift ideas. Whereas in December, you might be talking more about, last minute gift ideas or stocking stuffers. You're going to be reminding them of the holiday deadlines for ordering and so on. So I think having a calendar is going to allow you to plan out a lot of those messages ahead of time. And of course, we know that great timing and the right message and the right audience leads to conversions and sales. And that's what we're all here for, right? All right. I also think with the scheduling your posts ahead of time, it does prevent you from what we call going dark during the holidays. Again, remember when things start to bottleneck and you're super busy, we see it every day, all the time. Your social media is the first thing to go out the window. Don't let that happen. You can pre-schedule all your socials so that you don't have dark times during the holiday. Dark meaning no posting on the social channels. Scheduling is not just for social media. Nope. We also will draft out all of our emails. This is another tip and trick for you. You can create all your newsletters ahead of time and set them to go out when appropriate. This is especially useful if you want to remind customers about promotions or special holiday hours when they start. And once those emails are all set up, you can either save them as a draft or you can pre-schedule them for a certain date to go out at a certain time. If you are thinking, well, I don't know if I can design the whole email ahead of time, think about doing 75% of your template and getting the photos in there and getting the layout structured. And so that when you do know what the product sale is going to be, or you do grab a photo of the particular product, you can just take 15 minutes and drop it into that email and get that sent out. Another thing is links. You might not know what your links are going to be. So get the whole email ready to go, and then you can just drop in your links before sending it out. All right, so one of the other biggest challenges that we've seen during the pandemic, of course, is product availability. With a lot of factories closed or operating at reduced capacity, we are seeing supply chain issues. We're also seeing shipping delays. Those are the norm. with, I'm sure you've read in the news about the US Postal Service and some delays there. So, if you are subject to either of these supply chain issues or you're having shipping delays, please make sure that you are communicating those to your customers either on your website or a digital confirmation like their email receipt. Make sure you're mentioning those. With consumer behavior up in the air, it's really difficult to know what kind of inventory you're going to need and how much to order. So we recommend considering pre-order options like pick up after Thanksgiving or early December. And that can really help you answer the question of how many widgets do I need? If you're doing pre-order, then you know exactly how many widgets that you'll need. Another idea to consider is what's called consignments. Maybe you've got mostly stocked shelves and you need a few other little things, especially if you are maybe a local gift shop, for example, and you're working with makers. You could work with some of them to sell their items in your store on consignment. I'll give you an example. We have a boutique shop here in Salida downtown, and she has some items on consignment. So she mostly sells clothing that she carries in inventory. Then she also works with a local fiber artist who's doing these really beautiful macrame sculptures. And so she's got those in there on consignment. And so it's a win-win for both of them because the store owner doesn't have to carry the inventory, but yet she's got some nice wide variety. And of course, it's great for the local maker because they are getting exposure that they might not otherwise have. All right, finally, gift cards. Again, don't overlook those. There are a lot of e-commerce platforms that make it super easy and affordable to integrate digital gift cards. If not, got a link here for you, the Shopify on how to sell gift cards. We'll give you some more information about how to integrate those. And then one of the other topics that I want to cover in the presentation is the longer shopping season, or as I say, it's a marathon and not a sprint. So this is one of the other trends that we're seeing. The National Retail Federation recently debuted an ad campaign called Shop Safe, Shop Early to discuss health benefits of shopping when the stores are less crowded. So we know that this is being promoted on a national level. And of course, we know there's still going to be your last minute shoppers, but I think it's really important for you to plan to make sure that your shelves are stocked and that you're promoting the right products. So again, I just want to quickly review some of this. We call this our timeline. I mentioned some of these just a minute ago, but just for a quick review on the days. Of course, we know Amazon Prime Day kind of kicks off the season with their October 13th and 14th holiday season window. We've got other retailers like Target and Walmart, and now they've got their own days, and Lord knows where it's going to end, but we still do have some other traditional shopping dates that you'll want to capitalize on. Like I just mentioned, we've got Black Friday, we've got Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday. I would say that for those dates, you're going to need to be planning right now. Like as soon as you get off this presentation, bring out your paper and your pencil and start sketching out if you're going to be doing any sort of special offers and promotions for these particular days. As an agency, we also love to promote some what we call our quirkier days. This is just a really cute and clever way to stand out from the crowd. We know there's going to be a ton of white noise out there, so if you can pick some sort of an oddball day from this days of the year calendar, you might stand out. One of the most fun ones that we've done is the Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. As I mentioned, we're an agency that specializes in fiber and fabric companies, so we have a lot of yarn companies. And that one's really fun just to pull out something different and try to promote, ugly knitted Christmas sweaters. So maybe shop the list and see if there's something that fits nicely with your business or your brand, and think about that as some sort of just an alternate to some of the more common dates. So kind of on that note, we do see a trend where we believe that Cyber Monday is going to stretch out over several weeks this year. And I think there's going to be just an onslaught of deals and discounts out there. That means consumers are going to be bombarded with emails and Facebook ads and social media posts. So I think that personalization is really going to be the key to getting ahead in all of the noise. And so I want to give you just a couple of different ideas here for how you can personalize things. First, quick stat, Qubit.com surveyed over 800 consumers in the United States and the UK and found that two out of three consumers expect a personalized experience when shopping with a brand after the very first visit, right? So what does that look like? I think for sure we're entering this era of personalization where people want to feel like they're special and they're unique and that you see them as a consumer. We've moved past the days of just sticking someone's name in, hello, Jamie, in the newsletter when you send that out. There's just other different levels and layers that we're seeing now that can help you further personalize things. Chat features is one of the first ones. If you've not heard of this, you might also have heard of chatbot or chat features. Which can appear on the website and answer common questions. You can pre-program that with AI just like you would at a physical location. Make sure that your specific return policies are front and center so customers can purchase with confidence. Product suggestions, using browsing and purchase history to suggest different items that match your customer's preference, makes them feel special, makes them feel unique. Email automations, if you want to follow up on out of stock items or suggest similar products to them that they've previously purchased or that they've recently viewed. Again, this makes them feel special, like you know exactly what kind of a customer they are. An abandoned cart automation, I would classify as another example of this because you are in touch with what was in their cart, and when you reach out to them, they're like, oh, somebody's paying attention. Location-based suggestions, you might see this where you'll see a trending near you summary on a website, or maybe suggestions based on seasonality. So if you've got customers in a cold climate, they might see something different than your customers in a warm climate. And of course, that makes them feel like it's super personalized to them. And then scarcity. Noting when a product is selling out fast, has low stock, or is in several other carts, can trigger a sense of urgency. That I think works really effectively. I've given you an example here of Etsy, where you can see for this particular Star Wars product, the Star Wars fabric, 9 people have this in their cart. I don't know about you, but sometimes, especially when I'm in Etsy, that just completely freaks me out because I don't want anybody else to get my fabric. So I happen to fall for this every time, and I'll buy something because I am worried that if it is a one-of-a-kind item, I'm going to miss out on it. So that is a marketing technique that you can employ. All right, Jamie, let's see if we can do another poll. Do you think your customers are going to be spending more or less money this holiday season? Let me see if I can relaunch the poll. Oh, I think we got it. Okay. Thanks, Jamie. So we're answering the second question here. Do you think your customers are going to be spending more or less money this holiday season? And I decided to put this poll up because, I feel like I'm seeing a lot of data that suggests one way, but I'm also seeing some articles that suggest the other way. So I was curious what you guys thought about which way your customers would be going in terms of spending. All right, I'm going to end the poll. Close that out. All right, so we're seeing data on both sides of this argument. I'm going to make the case for smaller budgets. I think that when we take a look at unemployment rates, November, for example, right now, I just checked yesterday, and we're seeing unemployment rates of 7.9%. But that is coming off of some COVID highs in April, for example, of about 14% unemployment. And I feel like folks are going to still be catching up from that period of unemployment, and budgets are going to be a little bit tighter. 2.4 million people have been unemployed for more than 6 months. We've also got consumer spending, consumer debt, and stagnant wage data all playing a role in tighter budgets. We're seeing some of the data suggest that that's going to result in tighter budgets. So for those of you that said your customers you think might be spending more money, some of the data that I've seen on that side has to do with pent up spending energy, where people want to get out there and spend money because during the peak of the pandemic, when we were all on lockdown, nobody could get out there and shop and spend their money. So I don't know. We'll see. We're going to have to check in with each other on the other side of this to know which way it was. So I'm going to give you just some ideas here, assuming that we're going to have some tighter budgets. I want you to be able to reach comparison shoppers. I think there's going to be a lot more people that are looking for lower priced items. And so you want to be out there and ready to go to compete with some of the deals, because they're going to be everywhere out there. I will say that I would caution you from sliding into just immediately discounting things over, because deals are going to be everywhere. And I do think that it's just going to be more difficult to win consumers over based on deals alone. I also have some reservations just about discounting as a whole, because I feel like I have seen examples and instances with our client base where it can devalue your brand and your product, and it starts to condition shoppers to wait for sales instead of seeing your product as something of value that is worth what you have, how you have priced it. So just a little warning there when you're thinking about what deals you're going to put out there. We recommend using other value add differentiators, such as fast shipping, longer return windows, maybe a lower threshold for the free shipping, complimentary gift wrapping. Those are all ideas that can help you bridge the gap between you and a competitor that's just offering discounting. And as we already covered on previous slides, deep personalization is going to be the key to really connecting with your customer and helping them to make a purchase. Another quick stat for you, Accenture's 14th annual holiday shopping survey of 1,500 shoppers shows that 2 out of 5 plan to spend less than they did last holiday season, which again just means you're going to have to be exceptionally thoughtful in how you're dealing with a cost-conscious customer base. Maybe consider your messaging needs to be sympathetic to their current situation, and try to meet them where they are, which is their desire to give their loved ones nice gifts that they're going to love and cherish. One idea that we've seen that's real successful is a gift guide. So you can put together different curated collections of products. For example, like you might have access, for example, to past sales data that shows you most people bought $25 or less products. And so if you have that ability to tap into those customers, you can send a direct email to segment that group with a specific gift guide targeting 20 gift ideas for $25 or less, because you know that those same customers bought those last year. Stocking stuffer guides are fairly common. We see that all the time as we get close to December 25th. Suggestions for smaller, lower priced items that you can put into a stocking. And of course, you guessed it, we're going to talk about personalization again. Make sure that your product suggestions are as personalized as they can be for your customers. Okay, the last trend I want to cover with you today is we know that the third wave of the pandemic is in full force in many states. So safety is going to be a huge factor this season. And we need to not only consider our customers that are coming into our shop, but also our frontline employees. We want to make sure that they're safe too. So some of this might seem familiar to a lot of you and you've heard it all before, but I think it bears repeating just to make sure that you've got things in place to protect both of those customers and your employees and you, of course. So let your customers know how you plan to keep them safe. We always recommend that you're providing hand sanitizer if you are a brick and mortar location. It might be regulation in your state, it might not be, but just a little stand at the front of the store that allows people to quickly sanitize up before they start touching all your things. That might be good. I've even seen recently a foot pump. I saw a laser activated sanitizer. So there are some really cool and clever ways to set up a sanitizer station so that your customers don't have to touch the actual bottle itself. So Google some of those if that seems interesting. Provide low-cost face masks to customers that need them. You might have a situation where someone left their mask in the car. So if they come into your store and you're a mask mandate type of location, just have a couple on hand that they can use so that you don't miss the sale over a face mask. And then create a scheduled cleaning program to clean off surfaces and like door handles and your touch screens and your countertops and all of that. And we always recommend making extra time before or after business hours to do a little more detailed cleaning throughout the day. Social distancing is another thing we're all considering. We recommend that you consider rearranging your store space to allow for wider aisles and places for people to move through. You can put marks on the floor to create, to notify your customers of what the 6-foot social distancing would be, or to indicate the flow of traffic that you are preferring. There's great companies out there that are making these vinyl stickers that you can use. I've seen in some of the restaurants downtown, stand here will indicate, when you're in line, at Sweeties, for example, downtown, where do you stand when you're ordering a sandwich? And those vinyl stickers might make it really easy and fun for you to communicate that to your customer. And then of course, just other clear signage so that customers know where to go for pickup orders, for example, or for, if you've got a certain flow of traffic, some of the signage might just help guide them along that way. And then, lastly, contact tracing. I know this is going to be really difficult for some businesses, but for others, it might not be so hard to do. If you want to collect some basic contact information, should the need for contact tracing arise, you would be ready with that. And an example of that might be, we have a jewelry making business here in Salida downtown where folks will come together and they'll sit at a table and they'll make jewelry, handmade jewelry from different findings and materials. And they might be sitting around that table together for an hour or more. So, in that situation, you might just want to collect the information from them so that if you have an outbreak or situation, you would be able to provide that. There's a lot of technology out there that allows you to control the flow of customers in your space. If you offer shopping by appointment or have limited seating for dining, you can reduce the strain on your staff by letting customers book their appointments ahead of time. So I want to share a couple of those with you here. You've got scheduling apps. Calendly is one that I use a lot. It's super easy and it's free. Acuity is another one that's offered by Squarespace. Honeybook is a business management suite that offers other features in addition to appointment scheduling. For restaurants, I recommend Resi and Table In, and that can really help you limit in-store congestion, especially if there's a need for them to spend long periods of time waiting. You can try some of these line management apps, SafeQ. Oh, I'm a little behind there. SafeQ, Next Me, and Wait While are all going to be apps that some retailers might use during the holiday season. So again, you'll get this PDF download and you can explore some of those links at your leisure. Of course, some other great ideas I've seen, the great outdoors, staying outside when the air is fresh continues to be on the list of most experts safe social distancing recommendations. Of course, this assumes that you have a space where you can set up something outside for tent shopping or dining, which makes it possible to serve customers outside where they can social distance. I have even seen, I got a graphic picture here of these warmers. Here in Colorado, we get 300 days of sun, and there's a lot of days when, even though we're in the middle of the winter, you can still be downtown or outside with a t-shirt on. So of course, this might not work in all locations, but if you do have the space, or you're in a place, like for a while downtown Salida, we had all the streets closed off, and you could actually set up your business outside in the street. Downtown Larimer Square in Denver is also a great example of how they're pushing businesses outside into the streets. And you'd have to, of course, check with your local jurisdiction about whether or not you can spill out onto the sidewalk, or maybe you've got a designated parking lot, and there might be some options for you to consider some outside setups there. And then lastly, I always say, don't forget to decorate. I know it might be tempting to skimp on your holiday decorations due to budgets, or you don't have the time, but I think seeing festive windows and store displays are going to help your shoppers get in that holiday spirit. And we have a lot of pandemic fatigue and politics fatigue and all the other things that are making people weary. So for you to provide that just spark of delight for them with some seasonal holiday decorations just might be what they're looking for. So I hope you all have a healthy and prosperous holiday season this year. And do really, really well. So thank you for your time listening. I'll put up another slide here if you want to get in touch. As Jamie mentioned at the top of the presentation, we do offer free consulting with either me, or we have a whole team of consultants, because we really are intent on making your business successful. We want to be there for you, and for you it's free, no cost consulting, and there's the email there that you can sign up. And then I know Jamie does have a few announcements about upcoming events, and I do want to provide an opportunity to answer any questions if you do have those. So Jamie, have you seen, I guess if you've got a question, you can go ahead and type something in the chat, and we will field those questions, or maybe there are questions already, Jamie.
Yes, and the first question, because we're in a small community, is how can you take some of these practices, particularly shopping online, and then pick up with shopping local, and really focusing on all of us that are stuck in the small area, hesitant to go to the city to shop. So how can you do that with what you're suggesting, but also cross promote with Facebook?
Yeah, so I think it's really easy to do that. I mean, if you've got the e-commerce capability and components set up on your website, you can have ordering, and then for one of the options, you just have them select pickup. And then again, like I mentioned, make sure that all those policies are clear about how to do the curbside shopping and pickup. So for example, if you've got a designated parking lot or an alley to sweep through, make sure it's really clear that if I order something online from one of the boutiques downtown, I know exactly when and where to pick it up. I drive through the F Street alley, and then there'll be somebody there between 10 and 12 that will meet me there, something like that. I was thinking about the public library here in Salida during the peak COVID. I mean, they had somebody out there with a little book cart, and you could drive in at certain hours and you pick up your book. It's kind of similar to that. But you do need to have the online component. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe you don't have to have the online component. I suspect that there are some businesses that might be able to do phone ordering, where you order on the phone and then you make that arrangement to do the curbside pickup of that product. If that person's familiar with what the brand catalog is or the inventory, they might be able to do it that way. So, and as far as picking up on Facebook or integrating with Facebook, I would just say make sure that your Facebook brand page is updated with all the information about how you're going to change your policies for holiday shopping. Make sure your hours are all consistent. Make sure you're mentioning the curbside pickup and how you're going to do it. You maybe have a link over to your FAQ page that explains the process and how to do it. Just really good, solid communication with your customer to make that go smoothly.
And I know I'm a big consignment buyer
Yeah,
And one of my favorite things is going to one of our local consignment shops Facebook page, because I also work all the time. And
right,
you can see the different products that they just got in that
right. Yeah,
and say, I'll be there to pick that up
yes.
in
Yeah.
Messenger.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of integrations, and the Facebook store allows businesses to do exactly that, where they can put products online, make them available to customers. So yeah, I highly encourage businesses to look into that.
And then I do know, because our center, SBDC Center, is working with Salida Chamber, Buena Vista Chamber, Park County Chamber, and they do different features on their membership pages. So they have huge social media channels, so
Mhm.
they could share your specials and, those
Right.
types of things.
Absolutely. Yeah, look for those cross promotion opportunities whenever you can. Those are critical.
Well, thank you so much, Leanne. I
You are
really
welcome.
appreciate your contributions always. And if you have more questions for Leanne, do just email me and I'll make sure they get to Leanne and she
Yep,
can respond to you.
absolutely. I'm available. Thanks, Jamie.
And next slide, we will wrap this up. I just want to make sure that you know that we have on-demand events and workshops. So we have a great financial training segment that really explains all the aspects of finance by one of our other counselors, Michelle Hod. And then we have a cash flow essentials, which is a workshop series that you get one-on-one accounting support as well. It does have a $45 fee to it, but it is 8 sessions and it's self-paced and you end up with a cash flow plan. And then we have great storytelling, and Leanne has facilitated these great interviews with pivot panels and now innovation panels. So they're worth taking a look at our website. Next slide. Then we also have how to pivot, which is really critical now, and unlocking opportunities for your business using regenerative processes. And then the power of we is talks about the art of storytelling for women entrepreneurs. Next slide. And then Shopify for beginners, as Leanne had mentioned. We also have Etsy, and this shop local in a socially distanced holiday shopping time will be on demand. And then we have Google Online next week. And that's the last slide, is just thank you all for attending. And thank you again, Leanne,
You're
for
welcome,
your
Jamie.
amazing contributions.
You are welcome. Thanks, everybody. And I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year.
Yes, thank you.